In this video, we want to write the following trig ratios as acute angles using reduction formulae. So for this video, I'll use a Cartesian plane diagram to help me identify the quadrants and also to do the correct reductions. So this is a summary diagram that I find really helpful to help me remember all of the relevant information that I need for reductions. In the first quadrant, all the trig ratios are positive. And in the second quadrant, only sine is positive. In the third, only tan. And in the fourth, only cosine. We also know that the second quadrant can be represented by 180 degrees minus theta. The third quadrant by 180 degrees plus theta. And the fourth quadrant as 360 degrees minus theta. These expressions we would use to rewrite any angle in any quadrant as an acute angle in the first quadrant. So let's start with sine 205 degrees. Now 205 degrees is somewhere in the third quadrant. So we would use 180 degrees plus theta. So what you need to do is identify what you need to add to 180 degrees to get back to 205 degrees. And it's a simple calculation. You simply say 205 degrees minus 180 degrees, and that is equals to 25 degrees. So 180 degrees plus 25 degrees would equal 205 degrees. And we know that sine is negative in the third quadrant. So that would reduce to negative sine of 25 degrees. Notice theta in this example is replaced with 25 degrees. So the acute angle that we want is 25 degrees. Next, we have cos of 306 degrees, and 306 is in the fourth quadrant. So it's between 270 and 360 degrees. So what do I need to subtract from 360 to get back to 306? So that difference is 54 degrees. So theta is replaced with 54 degrees. We also know that cosine is positive in the fourth quadrant. So it will reduce to cos of 54 degrees. Next, we have tan of 175 degrees, which is in the second quadrant. And if I rewrite 175 degrees, I have 180 minus 5 degrees, which is still equal to tan of 175 degrees. And we also know that tan is negative in the second quadrant. So it will reduce to negative tan of 5 degrees. Next, we have sine of 140 degrees, which is somewhere in the second quadrant. We know that sine is positive in this quadrant, and that we can rewrite 140 as 180 degrees minus 40 degrees. And that reduces to positive sine of 40 degrees. Now, fifth example, we have cosine of 215 degrees, which is in the third quadrant. So we will use 180 degrees plus a number to get back to 215 degrees. So the difference between 215 and 180 is 35 degrees. So now theta, our acute angle, is 35 degrees. We also know that cosine is negative in this quadrant. So it will reduce to negative cos of 35 degrees. And for our last 4 examples, I continue to identify the quadrant of each of these angles and then the relevant calculation that I need to apply in that quadrant to find our acute angles, meaning our angles between 0 and 90 degrees. And then I ask myself, is that trig ratio positive or negative in that quadrant? And then from there, I rewrite each of them. So tan 300 would reduce to negative tan of 60. Sine of 271 would reduce to negative sine of 89. Cos of 120 becomes negative cos of 60. And tan of 190 would reduce to tan of 10 degrees. And that is how we use reduction formula to rewrite any trig ratio as an acute angle.